There are places where silence feels alive, places where the air itself remembers what once was, laughter, love, and the echo of names that no one speaks anymore. Ezekiel stood in such a place, a valley filled with bones, dry, broken, and scattered beneath a sky that had long forgotten light. He didn't stumble upon it by accident. God brought him there, not to witness a miracle, but to understand one. The valley wasn't just a grave. It was a question that every human heart eventually faces. Can what has died ever live again? Not just flesh, but faith, hope, and the will to keep going when everything inside you has turned to dust. Ezekiel looked around, overwhelmed by the sight. Thousands, maybe millions of bones stretched across the wasteland. Each one once carried a story. Each one once belonged to someone who dreamed, who prayed, who believed they had more time. But now they were nothing. And then the voice came, "Son of man, can these bones live?" The question wasn't for Ezekiel alone. It was for all of us, for everyone who's ever stood in the ruins of something they loved, for everyone who's ever watched a dream crumble, a faith fade, or a heart go quiet. Ezekiel could have said, "No, Lord, they're gone." He could have said, "This is beyond repair," but he didn't. He simply said, "Oh Lord, you alone know." Faith doesn't always begin with certainty. Sometimes it begins with surrender. The kind of surrender that whispers, "I don't see how, but I still believe you can." And then God gave the command, "Prophesy to these bones. Say to them, dry bones, hear the word of the Lord." As Ezekiel spoke, the impossible began. The ground shook. A sound like thunder rolled across the valley, bones clattering against one another, finding their place, forming skeletons once again. Then sinews appeared, flesh wrapped around them, and skin covered them. But still there was no life. They stood complete yet empty, because form without spirit is still death. Then God said, "Prophesy to the breath," and when Ezekiel did, something unseen swept through the valley. A wind, soft at first, then fierce, divine breath moving through the dead. And suddenly they lived. They stood, a vast army, not of the lost, but of the reborn. It's easy to read that as a story about the past. But the truth is that valley still exists, and we walk through it more often than we think. The valley is every place inside us where faith has dried up. It's every unanswered prayer, every relationship that fell apart, every plan that never became real. It's the silence after disappointment, the numbness after heartbreak, the moments when even your soul feels like dust. We all have our valleys. Some hide them well, behind smiles, behind work, behind religion. But deep down, we know where our bones lie. And God still asks, can these bones live? Maybe your valley is your family. Maybe it's your purpose. Maybe it's your belief that tomorrow can still be better than today. Whatever it is, the question remains the same. Is there still life in what you've buried? You see, the miracle wasn't that bones became people. It was that hopelessness became possibility, that silence became sound, that what was forgotten found its way back into existence. Ezekiel's valley wasn't a prophecy about the end of time. It was a prophecy about the end of giving up. Because even when everything seems over, God still whispers, "Speak." And sometimes that's all it takes. Not a shout, not a sermon, just a whisper of belief in the middle of ruin. When Ezekiel spoke, he didn't see results instantly. The bones didn't leap up right away. It started slow. A tremor, a sound, a shift beneath the dust. That's how faith works. You speak even when nothing moves. You believe even when nothing changes. You keep going even when the valley is still silent. Because the breath is coming. The wind is on its way. Look around you. Our world is full of dry bones. People walking through life with empty eyes, tired hearts, and souls running on memory. We scroll, we speak, we smile. But inside, we're waiting for breath. Waiting for something or someone to call us back to life. And maybe that someone is you. Maybe you are called to stand in your valley and speak. Not to command the impossible, but to remind yourself that God still moves through the impossible. When Ezekiel obeyed, he didn't raise the dead. God did. All Ezekiel did was believe enough to speak. That's what faith looks like. Not magic, not control, just obedience in the face of emptiness. What if your words, your faith, your persistence could bring life where death has settled? What if your valley is waiting, not for rescue, but for your voice? The world doesn't need louder people. It needs believing ones. People who stand in the dust and say, "This isn't over." When you walk through your valley, don't look for signs of life. Be the sign of life. Speak kindness where there's cruelty. Speak truth where there's confusion. Speak hope where everything feels hollow. Because you never know which word, which moment, which prayer might be the one that shakes the bones awake. Ezekiel didn't find the valley. God led him there. Sometimes the places we dread the most are the very places we're meant to speak into. Your pain isn't punishment, it's purpose in disguise. Because when you rise from your valley, you carry proof that life can return to even the driest places. The world will tell you it's over, that you've failed, that too much time has passed, that there's no fixing what's broken. But God specializes in the impossible. He doesn't rebuild, he resurrects. And maybe that's why he showed Ezekiel a valley instead of a garden. Because gardens bloom again by nature, but bones only rise by command. So if you find yourself surrounded by silence, if your soul feels empty, if your prayers sound like echoes, don't give up. Whisper, prophecy. Even if all you can say is, "Lord, you know." Because in that surrender, something begins to move. You don't have to understand it. You just have to believe that what seems dead isn't beyond reach. The breath is coming. The bones are waiting. And the same God who spoke life once still speaks today. When the dead speak, they don't speak words. They speak truth. Truth that hope is stronger than despair. That life is louder than death. And that faith is the sound that wakes the bones.